What do you think is the most important part of the dance? Is there something, the message? Is it something at the end? Is it the twirl? Is it the...
I think it's the whole package. I mean, I think there's so many different types of performers, and they all approach burlesque from a different point of view. Some are fantastic dancers. Some are not really dancers at all. Some are more comedians. It's just bringing, I think the most important thing is bringing what makes unique to the art form and letting that always be there. Making sure you're offering yourself.
And so when someone does a burlesque routine, are there specific moves that an audience member would expect to see?
There are classic burlesque moves.
And what are some of those?
And this ties into the definition of classic versus neo-burlesque. Classic burlesque has more of a retro feel. You'll see fan dances and more feathers and gloves and stockings. And so some of those classic moves that come from classic burlesque would be like a glove pull. Mm-hmm. Although there's crossover. Some of these moves you might do neo-burlesque, but glove pull is something that might be in a classic routine. You can, sort of pull off the gloves like this, and you tease. It's all about teasing the person. You might do it with your teeth.
They're all very sexy.
Yeah, but the idea is that no matter what you're taking off, you make the audience wait for it.
It's the anticipation of something?
Yes, it's the anticipation of something. It's also pointing out that, every little part of you can be sensual. You're taking off this glove, and this part of your wrist is sensual. And a burlesque dancer pays attention to those little touches, and she enjoys it. And part of her sexiness to the audience, I think, is the fact that she's enjoying every little moment of it and making you wait for it. Another classic burlesque move, I'm not wearing any stockings today, but would be stocking removal. So if a burlesque dancer is wearing a garter, she might unhook her garter seductively and slowly roll down her stockings. There are several ways to do it.
So the gloves, the stocking roll,
pulls.
Are there some other?
Yeah, tassel twirling.
I'd like to know, how do you learn that? Like, that is a skill, I would think, because I don't think I could even attempt to do that.
Yeah, well, it's not to say it's easy. There is a trick to it, but there's something funny about the human body where if you just get a little bounce going, those things are going to want to twirl. So you put one foot forward, they go one way. You put another foot forward, they go another way.
Do they all go in one direction, or
you can make them go either direction, in the same direction, to either side.
You can make them do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, if you're skilled enough, I'm an okay tassel twirler. Maybe we can put in a little clip.
I think so.
Here.
What was the most challenging dance move for you personally to master? What took you a long time to do?
Well, doing splits on the stage without falling over. I have mastered that. And also twirling while leaning back. It's kind of hard to keep the the shimmy, the twirl going when you're leaning all the way back. But, practice makes perfect, even in tassel twirling.
Who or what is Tootsie Roll? We'll talk about some specific.
Tootsie Roll is a burlesque dancer who was famous. There's not a lot known about her. I've seen her picture a lot, to be honest. She's super glamorous, and there are a couple of images on her. One in a book, I think, called Vintage Black Glamour.
I would say, when I did a little bit of research before sitting down with you, I came across her picture. I was like, wow, she's stunning.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've tried to find. I posted her on my burlesque page because she was just fabulous, and because she was a black burlesque performer, of which there were many. But unfortunately, I don't know what became of Tootsie Roll.
When was she popular? What time
I think
period?
the height of her popularity was the 60s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the picture that I posted of her is, she's got this sex kitten hair and
Killer body.
Killer body, yeah. And I'm sure she didn't get that Tootsie Roll nickname for nothing.
Right.
She
Are
must
there
have
a lot of
moves.
women of color in burlesque?
There are more and more, especially in New York. There are several groups of women of color who are performing and doing really well. Actually, at the Burlesque Hall of Fame in Las Vegas, a new queen was crowned, and I think she's the second African American queen in history. Her
Wow.
name is Poison Ivory. She's fantastic.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think there are more and more performers of color, and we're more and more visible, which is great.
Well, along that lines, what dancer or which dancers do you admire or think are the best, or you emulate, or do you, or you just kind of think they're fabulous?
There's so many incredible performers. I try not to emulate anybody. I mean, I think we're always watching people and seeing, what it is they bring, and there are always things that you learn from watching a good performer. I was recently in Vienna and performed at the Vienna Burlesque Festival, and one of the headliners was Pearl Noir, and she's one of my favorite performers. She's called the Mahogany Queen of Burlesque. Mm-hmm. Super sweet. I went up to her and I was like totally starstruck. I'm like, she's at the headliner's dressing room table, and I was sort of relegated off to the side.
The kids' table?
Yeah, yeah, like the kids' table. And, no complaints. She was super sweet. She just, I don't know how to describe. She just is so vivacious. First of all, she's an amazing dancer. Mm-hmm. She's so full of energy. She just lights up everything. She's limber. She is like she's like a tornado on stage. Mm-hmm. And sexy. So I'll just leave it at Pearl Noir. I hate to pick out people because there's so many amazing people.